Now, moving on to another very interesting story. Papa Shirandula, one of the biggest shows in our country at some point. It was on the same league as Real Housewives of Kawira and Mother-in-Law and so many other local shows that were going on our TVs. And of course, the ex-husband to Kawira, who was a huge part of Papa Shirandula's show, the ex-husband.
He was a pastor.
Sorry?
The ex-husband was the pastor.
Yes, his name, but she was an actress in Papa Shirandula.
Yeah.
Anyway, as I was saying, Kawira's ex-husband, Kawira. He felt attracted to her simply because of her behavior, and he deemed her a woman of principles. Yeah, he called her, she was a woman with principles. And we're like, okay, so moving on. Apparently the next day his colleagues were very intrigued by the way she was behaving, and they went so far as to probe him and tell him, this should be the mother of your children, you know, this is the one who is supposed to get as a wife. However, he wasn't necessarily ready to get married, but he still pursued her, and eventually they had a lavish wedding, a big wedding, happily married for a few years. And they had promised each other that after 2 years they would try and have a baby, but you know, the plans of the womb are different from our plans. Eventually they ended up having triplets. Unfortunately, lost one of the triplets 6 months after the birth of the children, and they had their mother-in-law coming in to take care of the child. But as we said, family members are not supposed to be coming and living in your house. It doesn't matter whose mother it is. Let them stay, come visit for a weekend, then go away, you know, come chill for a week, then go away. Don't be those people who are concealing people's biashara. Anyway, apparently the mother-in-law came and visited, and the visit ended up becoming a living-in situation, which ultimately led to a lot of a breakdown in their relationship. He actually goes so far as to say that, you know, in our culture they should just visit us instead of living with us. However, they had talked to the mother-in-law to go back to her place, and we would support her from there. But he left, went to work, came back home. Guess what? Nobody is in the building. The wife, the children, her belongings clearly missing. He tried to review the CCTV footage, and it seemed like that day particularly there was no footage to review. Eventually he actually found out that yep, she actually had moved away. And he tried, you know, obviously you're supposed to now call your wife, find out wagwan. He said he didn't call her. He felt the intentions that she had were not right because she could have mentioned what was going on. He woke up the next day, called his family and friends for advice. When he tried to call her, she didn't pick up, but so he's just like, all right. She blocked him on WhatsApp, she blocked him on multiple other platforms. So he decided, you know what, this is tough. He did get into a bit of depression, but eventually he had to release her with God's blessings because he was a good husband. Anyway, he says he blames her, himself, for the marriage's failure. And so you're just like, okay, Pastor Ezekiel, well, no, Pastor Ephantus, sorry. I don't know why his name sounds so Ezekiel-y. Anyway, okay, Pastor Ephantus, we get that story. However, it just doesn't happen that a woman will wake up and be like, deuces. This is not the way of humanity. Like, no woman in her right mind will just wake up and live a happy home. That's a lie. It's never a happy home. It's always accumulation of issues which she may have tried to address with you and you ignored them, which have been long coming. A woman to live with children especially, and the way everyone is in this industry and in the world trying to tell them that you should stick to your family, protect your family, don't try and raise your children. Be a pastor, you know, atoke and na watoto. That is a very, very big decision. It did not take a night to decide. For her to even strategically plan, cook breakfast for you, and then duck. Do you think it takes 2 minutes to pack her clothes? Of course not. She may have packed earlier this whole week. Amekotoki collect vitu aneka kwa bedroom ya watoto. You are not even paying attention. Hence, it's so easy for them to leave at the end of the day, and you're like, I can't believe they left. It's never a one-day decision. So what did you do What did you do? Because your children being born ahead of time that you had discussed is not an issue. In fact, so far as if you lost a child, which is such a sad story, and you were left with two children, that is a huge burden for anyone to bear. It's very painful. I can only imagine how painful it is. But she still stays. And then to the point where the mother-in-law has moved in. Somehow they are working in cahoots with each other. No, there was something was going on, Pastor, and you need to tell us a bit more of the story because something here is not right. And if you don't know, you probably need to start asking her and asking for her forgiveness because you messed up and we don't know how.
Yeah, I actually read something somewhere that you could love somebody, you love them so much, but you're not loving them in the way
they
that
want
they
to be
receive
loved.
love, you know. And I think in most African household, let me just blanket it as a statement, African household, you'll find that sometimes the man, you know, shows his love in the way of provision. And as long as he has provided for you financially, you're living in a good, you're not sleeping outside, you know, rent is paid, land is bought, children are in school. That is how they show love, and that is how they grew up seeing love being shown. So they think that is the capacity, that is just how I show love, and then namalizia hapo. So even when the other partner is saying, listen, you need to do this, listen, you need to do this, and then you add that with conflict resolution, you guys are not resolving conflict in a good sustainable manner. Maybe it's just one of those Kabiwa Jesus scenarios where I start airing my grievances and you start praying in the middle of me talking. It can get frustrating. But I'm just speculating. I'm just giving my opinion. I don't know what went down. No one is really saying exactly what went down. They're just saying they left each other. Everyone has a different way of explaining how they left each other, but they're not really saying why. Why did you all break up? Because you're talking about it, as in, you've talked about this story maybe 3 times now. So you're just seeing how you guys left each other, how she packed and left. She says how she went, but nobody is really addressing the cause. Okay, we're not getting a bit irritated as online in-laws. You're burning my data to give me the same story. I'm feeling some type of way. Tell us why. What was the reason? Was it a lot of things? Was it one thing and you're like, this is the straw that breaks the camel's back, I'm out? What exactly happened? Other than that, please keep quiet. You're giving